Ever wondered how to cook the perfect steak? It all starts with selecting the right cut of meat. The key is to look for a steak that's well marbled, as those streaks of fat melt during cooking, infusing the steak with rich flavor and ensuring it's tender. Now you might be wondering about the difference between cuts. Ribeye is known for its marbling and flavor, filet mignon for its tenderness, and New York strip strikes a balance between the two. Remember, the secret to a flavorful and tender steak is in the marbling. Now that you have the perfect steak, it's time to prepare it for cooking. This preparation phase is crucial for ensuring that your steak cooks evenly and tastes amazing. First off, let's talk about temperature. You'll want to take your steak out of the refrigerator at least 30 minutes before it hits the heat. This allows the steak to come to room temperature, which promotes even cooking from edge to edge. No more cold centers or overcooked edges, folks. Next, it's time to preheat your grill, cast iron skillet, or grill pan. Crank that heat high. We're looking for a surface that's hot enough to give our steak a beautiful, flavorful sear. And then, there's the all-important seasoning. Pat your steak dry with paper towels to remove any excess moisture, then season both sides liberally with salt and pepper. Don't be shy. This isn't the time for modesty. Your seasoning is the secret to unlocking the steak's full flavor potential. With your steak seasoned and your cooking surface preheated, you're ready to start cooking. Cooking the steak is where the magic happens. This is when you transform a raw piece of meat into a delicious meal. Now let's get down to the heart of the matter, searing the steak. The secret to a perfect sear is a hot cooking surface. Be it a grill, a cast iron skillet, or a grill pan, you want it to be piping hot. Once your cooking surface is ready, it's time to introduce your steak to the heat. Lay the steak down and let it be. Resist the urge to poke, prod, or move it around. Giving it a few solid minutes without disturbance allows the steak to develop a beautiful crust, a hallmark of a well-cooked steak. For a steak that's about an inch thick, you're looking at roughly 3 to 4 minutes of cooking time on each side. When half of that time has passed, it's time to flip. Use tongs to gently turn the steak over. Remember, we're searing, not squeezing. Now here's an optional step for those of you who like a bit of extra flavor. During the last minute of cooking, feel free to introduce some aromatics to the pan. Crushed garlic cloves, sprigs of thyme, or rosemary can all add a lovely depth of flavor to your steak. Simply tilt the pan slightly and spoon the hot oil or butter over the steak to baste it. Now, how do we know when our steak is done? That's where a meat thermometer comes in handy. For a medium rare steak, you're aiming for an internal temperature of around 130 to 135 degrees Fahrenheit. Remember, the steak will continue to cook a bit as it rests, so it's always better to err on the side of underdone. A well-seared steak is a beautiful sight, but remember, it needs to rest before you can dig in. This gives the juices a chance to redistribute throughout the steak, ensuring every bite is as juicy and flavorful as possible. Patience is a virtue, especially when it comes to cooking the perfect steak. Patience is key when cooking the perfect steak. Letting it rest after cooking is crucial. Now, we're not just saying this to test your self-control. There's a real scientific reason behind it. When the steak is on the heat, its juices are pushed towards the center. If you cut into it straight away, those lovely juices will escape, leaving your steak drier than it should be. Here's where patience comes in. Let your steak have a little nap. Remove it from the heat and transfer it to a cutting board. Let it rest for at least 5 minutes. This break allows the juices to redistribute throughout the meat, resulting in a juicier, more flavorful steak. While the steak is resting, let's talk about slicing. You've heard the term slice against the grain, but what does that mean exactly? The grain refers to the direction that the muscle fibers are aligned. By slicing against these fibers, you shorten them, making the meat easier to chew and more tender in your mouth. So, when you're ready, take a sharp knife and cut the steak into half-inch thick slices. Make sure you're cutting against the grain for maximum tenderness. And there you have it, a perfectly cooked steak ready to impress your guests. Enjoy!